All these are the beginning of sorrows.
We have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing. Took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that, and we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war.
What odds do you give World War III?
Well, we're already in World War III. So I'd give that 100%. How far will it go? Depends on how stiff-necked we are. Right? So the Egyptian tyrant is visited by, is it 10 plagues? The last plague is the destruction of the future itself. That's the death of the firstborn. So, you know, it depends on how hard we have to be hit before we wake up. And there's no end to that.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production. The views on this channel are those of Omega Watchman Media Group LLC, and not those of Google, YouTube, or their advertising affiliates. Due to the mature nature of this content, language, and depth, viewer discretion is strongly advised.
And we begin with breaking news. A powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit Japan's southern coast earlier. British police are bracing for a new round of far-right anti-Muslim riots. The UK has seen a wave of violent protests after 3 girls were killed in a knife attack last week. Online misinformation, which falsely identified the suspected attacker as a migrant, has fueled the demonstrations.
And a massive wave of unrest is expected across the UK tonight. More than 100 far-right demonstrations and 30 counter-protests are planned. Officials there say the UK is facing, quote, one of the worst spates of violent disorders in the last decade.
Also, that in the last days, perilous times shall come.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.
And ye shall hear of wars, and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet.
It's a time of wars and rumors of wars, as Iran continues making threats and Hezbollah shoots missiles into northern Israel daily.
The U.S. military will deploy additional fighter jets and Navy warships to the Middle East as Israel is bracing for a potential multi-day attack.
Officials say Iran is planning on retaliation after the assassination of 2 senior militant leaders last week.
Israel and its allies are preparing for retaliatory strikes by Iran after the death of a senior Hamas official last week.
Going to war again. Because every time the economy goes bad, war starts. So that's what brought Hitler to power back in the early years, you know.
Do you think it's going to happen again?
We're already in it.
We have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing. Took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that. And we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war.
What odds do you give U.S. Civil War? What odds do you give World War III?
Well, we're already in World War III.
The U.S. sending warships and aircraft to keep an eye on a convoy of Russian vessels over in the Caribbean Sea. Those ships are not too far from the Florida coast where they were spotted, and they appear to have now reached Cuban waters. Russian soldiers aboard one stood in military formation as they did approach the island. U.S. officials have said they expect the Russian ships will remain in that region through the summer.
Russia is flexing its military muscles in Cuba, just 90 miles from Florida. A Russian nuclear submarine and 3 other ships entered Havana Harbor yesterday to conduct military exercises. It was really hard not to think of the Cuban Missile Crisis that brought the U.S. and Russia to the brink of war back in 1962 when we saw these headlines.
We are following a developing story this morning. For the first time ever, 2 Chinese military planes have been intercepted in international waters near Alaska. That's according to the North American Aerospace Defense Command. The Chinese bombers were accompanied by 2 Russian long-range bombers yesterday. U.S. and Canadian fighter jets were sent up in response, but things ended without incident.
Right before President Biden's Oval Office address last night, the U.S. military intercepted Russian fighter jets and 2 Chinese bombers. I believe they were flying in formation. First time we've ever seen that. And this happened right off the coast of Alaska.
I believe they were flying in formation. First time we've ever seen that. And this happened right off the coast of Alaska.
The U.S. military intercepted Russian and Chinese bombers in international airspace off of the coast of Alaska yesterday. Officials say 2 Russian and 2 Chinese fighter jets were detected, tracked, and intercepted.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.
And ye shall hear of wars, and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning.
A first-of-its-kind warning across Japan Thursday for a long-feared megaquake, following a powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake that rocked the country's southern coast. Reverberations felt for miles, caught on cameras in offices along the coast and at an airport.
Please evacuate right now.
Tsunami warnings issued following the quake, urging some residents to leave the seaside, but so far, injuries and damage have been minimal. Researchers have long warned of a megaquake, 8 or 9 magnitude, potentially even more damaging than the 9.1 that set off a tsunami in 2011.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.